Behave over there, Nick.
Call the meeting to order. Would everybody that can, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay, you're gonna have to pardon me because I forgot to plug something in here.
To the basement with you.
I gotta find out where it's at. Too many cables. Can you reach it? Up here on top.
Oh, like, what are you doing?
Too many things. So that changed it. Right, let me make sure. Okay, we should be good. Or better. All right, roll call, please. Use your mic, please.
All board members are present this evening.
All right, before we go for the approval of the agenda, the fire chief has a request to add an item for a fire and EMS reporting software purchase. And I'd like to make that item 11J. Can you guys hear that all right? Okay. You want it louder? Okay, so we got to get your mouth into the thing here. Okay, is that better? Okay. All right, so can we get a approval of the agenda?
I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper, Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next item is consent agenda approval. Get a motion, please.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right, announcements and information. Farmers Market has been going off really well on Saturdays, and it's at Milford Road and M59 from 10 to 2. The concert series kicks off tomorrow night at 7 o'clock at Veterans Park. And the Highland Summer Sidewalk Sales are July 21st and 22nd. And anybody else have anything they want to add to announcements?
I just want to say that in front of you, I dropped off an FYI of the top 30 taxpayers report for 2022. It's a report we have to pull for one of our reports that are due. And I just thought it'd be interesting for you.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to add too, tomorrow night's the Journey cover band is tomorrow night. And then next week is Itchuku Park with legendary Milford drummer Bob Lewis on drums. So that's next week. And they're amazing too. They play all the old 60s and early 70s stuff. And so should be good. So come on out, bring your chairs. It's always good.
Okay, in the event that it rains, or looks like it's gonna rain, the concert will be in here.
Really?
Yep.
In here.
In here.
Wow.
So
All right. Did
be
I
a
know that?
good test for a concert venue. It'll either be really loud or really, really loud, one of the two.
If it's,
So there'll be no need for echo on any of the devices we've
Jeez.
built in. So, all right, next is public comment. Anybody have a public comment?
I do. Nobody else does.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to take a minute to note, we have two people that have put in a lot of time that are retiring from the township, and I just wanted to take a minute to thank them for their service. Karen Provo worked in the supervisor's office for, I don't know how many years,
Almost 11.
11 years. But Karen took all the trash phone calls and the garbage phone calls, which is a very big issue and very near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. It's a tough job. So she learned the assessing job and took that on. And whenever we needed anything researched, Karen was our go-to. She researched and dug into everything and found out what we could and couldn't do. So thank you, Karen Provo, for your years of service. And then we have another Karen Jensen, who was my deputy when I was treasurer. Karen was bookkeeper before that. She left and went to Milford for a while and then came back. And I had the pleasure of working with Karen for like 8 years, I think it was. Her attention to detail is incredible. She has a great working relationship with Amy in our bookkeeping department. They did a great job together. There were so many changes through audits with new requirements, and both of them just dove in and made it happen and made our records so that they would line up with our audit. Both Karens put in many years of their lives to make for the betterment of Highland, and I just want to give them a shout out for a job well done. Thank you.
All right, any other public
I
comment?
want to say something if you don't mind. Very impressed. Sorry, it's awful loud. My voice is loud anyways, but very impressed with the fireworks show that we had, the date, I don't know, June, what was the date? June 24th. And I'm just very proud that I was on the board. We first started on the board and I used to come and they'd ask us for money. And when I finally said the first year, how much do you need? And then the next year we put it in the budget and since then we paid for it. And I was up in Ludington for the 4th of July, and Hamlin Township, which is north of Ludington, canceled their fireworks this year because they didn't have any money. And I said, well, that's just poor budgeting. That's why I told a couple people out there. I said, poor budgeting on your part. Shame on your township for not taking care of it. I just think the show was amazing. And I mean, it was about 20 minutes of just nonstop fireworks. I put our fireworks up against anybody, in terms of the show. I mean, the length. And I like a shorter fireworks show when there's a lot of fireworks. It was just one after the other, and the people were amazed. And I just think it's just a great give back to the community. And that was our big push when we first went to that. And I also wanted to thank, I text Matt the next day about this deputies. They did. I was up in the Salvation Army area up there by in that area and watching them move the traffic. We waited because I knew it would take a little bit, but they just. SUV pulls out on 59, everybody leaves for about, I don't know, so many minutes, and this SUV pulls back and they open up 59, just kept doing it. And I think they had that thing cleared out in about 15 minutes. And that's pretty amazing because there's a lot of people up there. And so I think it's very cool. It's always a great night in Highland. I think our fireworks show, I said, I put us up against anybody in the state for what we do. And it was sad that Hamlin Township was canceled. I know they're passing the hat around for Ludington's fireworks. I mean, that always bothered me. So I think it's just a good thing that we do. So it was amazing. So thanks.
I've heard a lot of good comments also from a lot of people that would talk to me about it. A lot of good comments. And the farmer's market is highly visible on the corner, highly visible. I think a lot of traffic is pulling in just because they see it there. So.
All right. I got one thing I want to bring up. In 1776, we celebrate the 200th and well, now it's 200 and what? But anyways, you pick dates that you try and remember things. Now this one, she's smiling right now because she's figured out where we're going with this. My wife tonight is my wife of 47 years. And she didn't say anything this morning, and I didn't say anything, and it's because we never remember it. And part of it comes from a pact we made before we got married, and so we don't do Hallmark holidays. And so if you don't do Hallmark holidays, you're not going to remember them. So what, and we don't gift it and things like that. So anyways, I'll give you some examples. 2 years in a row at 11 o'clock at night, we were at Myers in Waterford, and Chris writes a check for the groceries and goes, "Hey, you know what today is?" "What?" "It's our anniversary." Next year, exact same place, exact same time. And both times the cashiers went, "What? You don't know your anniversary?" Another time I'm up on Mackinac Island. I've got my cousins from England with us, and being in business, I had a lot of, calendar dates and stuff I'd have to remember. And I'm walking, seeing these stores, and I see July 10th, or 10. And I told Chris, I said, "Jesus, man, I think I forgot an appointment or something." And she goes, "Huh, it's our anniversary." My cousins looked at us like we were idiots. You can't remember that. And so I want to wish you a happy anniversary, because we get to spend it at a township board meeting. So now we got something we can remember. But we got married in what's now called Steeple Hall, or it was, annex, or the Highland Council for the Arts. Whatever you want to call it. To me, it's the Methodist church that I attended with Roscoe Smith for a good chunk of my life. And we got married there on the 10th on a Saturday. Roscoe was there. He remembers how smoking hot it was in that place with no air conditioning. And everybody kept saying, "Let's get to the reception." We knew we had AC there. So anyways, sweetie, happy anniversary. All right. So
I want to say one more thing, if you don't mind. Well, first of all, I can't believe we scheduled a meeting tonight, but on your anniversary. No, the other day I was driving home, the hottest day of the summer so far, and I see this guy mowing on 59. And I go, "That's Rick." So of course I honk and wave, and you're focused and you didn't see me. And then I said to my wife, I go, "Rick was out there mowing." She goes, I seen him mowing also. And I bring it up periodically. We have a supervisor that does so many things above and beyond. I don't know how many supervisors in their respective townships around the state are out mowing the median, part of the median on 59. I don't know if you're supposed to be out there mowing. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I know it's for the milkweed mile and all that we're doing, but okay, good. Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything, but no, I just think it's amazing. The stuff that you do. And I tell people all the time, I said, whenever he decides to step down, I said, who's going to fill those shoes? Because he does so much for this township, and the amount of money he's saved for this township, and all the things he just does because of his skill sets. And I pity the person who has to follow your footsteps. So, because then there's nobody I know that's got the skill sets that you have and the vision, but you're out there mowing, and you were in long sleeve shirt and your blue jeans. And I thought, oh my God, he's got to be just dying out there. But there he was, focused and mowing. So great job. And happy anniversary.
One more comment. It looks like the state is leaving the midsection of the open for flowers to grow. It looks like they cut about 10 or 15 feet around.
That was me.
Huh?
That was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay.
I wanted to make sure that we cut it, so they didn't cut it and mow it down to the ground. They get the hint. If you're supposed to take care of it. That's what we're supposed to do. So, all right. On that note, the next thing up is a presentation by Main Street Oakland. Tim Colbeck, who's a representative from Oakland County's Main Street program, used to be our DDA director at one time. Unfortunately, our DDA director has got some family issues, not able to make it. He's here to give us a little bit of a kudos. So I'm hoping that's what it's for. So Tim, you want to come up to the mic there?
As I say, it's was a lot of hard things to follow here. An anniversary and all the accolades. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
So you guys are getting used to seeing me come up here, at least once a year for this presentation. And try to get up here more frequently, but every year as part of being in the National Main Street program, the organization is evaluated. It's, how well are they functioning? Is the board strong? Do you have good leadership from the government, the volunteers, the staff? How are things looking? It's not how wonderful things look or how many businesses open. It's about how active the community is and your buy-in and your acceptance of the program. And every year you guys pass with flying colors. And it's all attributable to the things that we just heard, in the last 10 minutes here. I mean, your township supervisors mowing lawns, most of you sitting here at the table do something with the DDA. You all volunteer in some capacity, either on the board or you're on a committee or you're at one of the events. We just heard about how successful the farmers market's growing. And that's the thing about Main Street is it's all these little pieces put together that make a really successful program. And I could say, as I've been watching now for the last almost 6 years and from my time prior here, you guys have really hit a kind of that sweet spot. You're sometimes these things that you do, like putting up that brand new mural and, the project you're working on for the overpass with the train viaduct and all these things. A lot of times people think those are little things, but those are the little things that have a really big impact, and people really will know where Highland is. You're putting it on the map, the native flower plantings, the concerts, everything that you do. So all that being said, I'm just real pleased to again be able to present this plaque, which is signed by the president from Main Street America. And it certifies that the organization, that the Highland Downtown Development Authority is recognized for 2023 as an accredited program. And I'm really happy to say this is 12 consecutive years now. So that's pretty good. Yeah. And we notice the hard work being done. We appreciate everything that you guys are doing. And as you know, I'll always be here to help you. So I want to take this from
Bring
here.
up the DDA members.
Yeah. So I want to share that with you guys. Oh, yeah. Good work. Yeah, we got it. Good work for all of you. Okay.
I'd like to say something about the elements of the DDA and how important it is to a community. And it is the DDA that got me interested in doing the job that I'm doing right now. So it's one of those things where it's an element that is so important that it allows for the township to do things on a whole that it wouldn't be able to do as a board alone. And the other things that are important is to have buy-in by board members. And Jennifer, our treasurer, has taken on a responsibility to be a member of the board. Judy Cooper has been on committees. It's really important that the township organizations work together as a whole. And that's what really makes it very effective. And so I want to thank everybody that's been involved in this and has realized the value of it, because we've gotten a lot of changes in this community that would have never happened without the DDA. And I think that's something that'll take us a long ways into the future. And I really appreciate it. It's been great working with everybody on that. So, all right, thanks again, Tim. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Not now. All right, we'll move on. Next item is a public hearing for Charter Township of Highland to reprogram 2022 Community Development Block Grant Funds. So this is an opportunity for the public to comment, right, Jennifer?
Do you want to open it at a certain time?
We'll open it at 6:51. Okay, no comments. All right, that was an easy public hearing, so wanted to explain it. Let's explain what we're doing here.
So we're currently taking 2022 CDBG funds that were slated to do a senior center restroom update, $21,000. And we're asking to reprogram them to a clearance and demolition. Do I need to say the address or?
Yeah.
Okay, of 146 John Street, property that the township owns. And this is a formality just to change those funds from one project to another.
Okay, so that project is right behind, just to the south of the Steeple Hall, is a home that belonged to a longtime resident. She had become ill, and they were selling, her family was selling the house so that they could put her into some type of a home situation. She was quite a sparky lady, sparky all the way to the end. She really didn't want to go into a home, and I can't blame her for that. And the township had an opportunity to be able to, once in a lifetime, if you want to put it that way, opportunity to be able to garner some more space for parking for that facility, because there's only about 12 parking spaces. It's always been a nightmare to park for that. And so I approached the homeowner and made her an offer that the township board approved, and that was to live in the house for as long as you live. You stay in the house at no cost to you, except for the heating and cooling, that type of thing, electrical utilities, for as long as she lived. And she was pretty ill, but she was really, really at ease with that, really pleased with it. And she did pass away. And ironically and unfortunately, her son, who was taking care of her not too long after that, also passed away. So it's kind of one of those things where it was the right thing to do for an individual that had served the community, and with her family. Her husband was a former firefighter, so really a part of the community. She was a lot of fun. I mean, when we did the sidewalks, the engineers really didn't address her situation where the sidewalk was going to go. And it was because of the way the setbacks are, it would have been about 6 feet from her front window. And it would have taken out this really beautiful tulip poplar tree that's about 1.5 feet in diameter. So she wouldn't let the engineers on the property. So they came to me and said, "You got to deal with this lady. She's going to kill us," And I said, "Well, she's not going to do anything to you." So I go down there and she says, "If they set foot on this property, I'll be right back. I'm going to take this shotgun and shoot their ass." And I'm like, whoa, I don't think that's necessary. So we managed to make corrections, move the sidewalk to the outside of the tree, made it much more appropriate all the way around. And she was then very happy about that. But it was, she probably, I don't think she would have shot him, but she was making her point. And I will say that the engineer that was managing the project was not willing to go on her porch. So he was more afraid than I was, but great lady. Appreciate that she was willing to be, and she knew what we were going to do with the property. The house is in very unstable condition. We went in to check it out to see what for demolition, and her husband had done some creative digging in the basement. It looked like a giant rodent had gotten in there and undermined everything. And but so it was just standing on a prayer. I think just everything was holding it together. So anyways, that's what this money for is, to be able to use it for to help pay for the demolition. It may or may not happen. I mean, it's just in terms of the repurposing, but that's one of the steps we have to take in order to try and do that. And CDBG, our community development block grants, they do a lot of good in the community, as for seniors and people with limited incomes and stuff like that. So it's a good grant program.
Rick, real quick, I just want to clarify that we opened the meeting at 6:51 and also closed, or the public hearing at 6:51 before we started talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was an explanation of what it was about. So, all right, thank you. Anyways, everybody else should understand what we're talking about. Okay, so that's it for the public hearing. We'll move on to the next part. That's pending business. The next item is for the board to consider the adoption of a zoning amendment Z028 to rezone property ID number 1134-176-007 vacant on South Milford Road. It's just south of Reed Road, and it's from C1 local commercial to C3 low impact commercial with offer of conditions from the applicant Vandry Properties LLC. So if you look through your package, you'll see that the largest portion of the packet are the agreements that the property owner agreed to meet, that conditional zoning and then the statement of conditions. So I think that pretty well produced, and the planning commission was highly involved. So I think at this point, is anybody want to make a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve, Salvia.
What's that? We did. That was last board meeting.
Cooper support.
I don't think so. Okay, moved and supported. Anybody have any discussion or questions?
One question, there's no water on that property for boats. You have to add water or something.
Just add water, and then it will just add water. All right, so
I have a question.
yes,
So from the prints, it's going to be paved or gravel or? Okay. Okay.
But recollected from the road projects and so forth.
And it really looks like a great parcel to be able to do the boat storage right next to the
sales.
sales. Yeah,
Yeah.
boat sales.
So yeah, the sales is at 2675 South Milford Road.
Mhm.
Everybody knows is the Tuffy building.
Right.
He's just been growing. He was actually, he lives in Highland. He lives off Duck Lake Road. I'm one of the canals of White Lake. He came to me from Sean, who had to serve him an ordinance issue because he was selling out of his property 3 years ago. And he's went from, a few boats and brokering used boats to full on dealership. So he's needing additional space. He lives in Highland. He'd like to stay in Highland. So I'm doing what I can to try to offer that to him.
Plus, he went through the whole COVID ordeal,
Yes, he did.
and still surviving and thriving. So,
Surviving and thriving. He brought on a new boat line this year, Baggio, Tritoons and Pontoons. So that's been a big growth for him, and his small dealership, he's moved 21 Tritoon boats this year. I was floored because the cheapest boat he sold was 50,000, but most of them were 70, 80, 100,000. So.
all right. Any other questions? Right. Can I have a vote, please?
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right, that was 10A. We're moving on to new business. This is the second half of the Community Development Block Grant. So this is a resolution to reprogram the 2022 Community Development Block Grant funds that we just had the public hearing on. So somebody like to make a motion?
I would move to approve resolution 23-17 to reprogram 2022 Community Development Block Grant Funds.
Support Lewis.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All right, vote please.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right, the next item is a personnel policy change. Tammy, you want to address that?
Yep. So this law had passed and we're just updating our personnel policy on the advice of our lawyer to make sure that everybody going forward knows what we have to do.
So in your packet, you should have the policy. I'm going to read it out loud so that those know what the policy is. So this is the new wording to be added to the policy. The township will provide reasonable break time for an employee to express breast milk for their nursing child for 1 year after the child's birth. Employees are provided a place to pump at work other than a bathroom that is shielded from the view and free from intrusion from coworkers in the public. Please contact your department head or township supervisor regarding the need for break time or a private space. So it's a law to be able to allow people to have that private time.
I move to approve the addition to the personnel policy as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote please.
Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is Huron Valley Community Coalition request for opioid settlement funds. I think most of us should be aware that the lawsuits that opened up funding by the opioid producers for all the damage that was done. And one of the things that happens is the township is the recipient of some of these funds, and then it's our responsibility to find something to do with them. And I have to say that I kept trying to think how do we apply these things in the best possible way? And what I'd like to do is I'd like to have Jordan step forward, who's the executive director. And I would like to thank you very much for coming up with, I think, is the best absolute use for this resource. So we'll discuss this more, but I'd like you to explain to the public what it is that this is going to do for you and your organization.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me tonight. So the Huron Valley Community Coalition, we lead teens to a drug and alcohol-free life. We believe that if we start early, through science, it's proven that we can prevent lifelong substance use disorders by helping the kids have the best role models they can with our community members and our volunteers, proper education that's based on fact, not scare tactics, myths, or anything like that, and helping them have positive, healthy coping mechanisms. So what we do is we can really work with our coalition is based on through Huron Valley Schools. So we have a direct link to all of our students. We also work with our homeschool groups, the community libraries and things like that to get education out there. With these funds, the coalition is almost completely grant funded. We are 99% grant funded. And so with this, it'll really help us to open those doors because currently only a very small part of our budget can go towards opioid prevention. Most of our funds are directed at alcohol, cannabis use, vaping, things like that. So this will help us to expand our take back systems that we have at our local township offices, as well as reaching some of our community members that can't drive and things like that to get some of these opioids out of our systems, out of our community. Especially because some of our young people, they go to visit grandma. They go to visit different places that they know aren't being monitored, family members that have cancer or heart surgeries and things like that. So we really want to work with our young adult population as well as our youth population, bringing programming, proper education, and really making sure that the coalition can focus on that for a safe and healthy Highland.
Well, thank you very much. In the packet, we haven't really put together a final decision on how we're going to spend these funds, but this is I think the opportunity is you've given us a what I feel is the best avenue to direct these to, because we could give some to the sheriffs and we could, I mean, it can be spread around in a number of different ways, but this one really just hits home because everything you do is dependent on some type of grant money. And grants are the hardest thing to keep things alive with. You're constantly out there trying to, make a point to try and share something that you might get $1 out of when you spend $100 trying to get there. And the net negative effect of this whole opioid situation is something that you have the right program to be able to put this to use and make it worthwhile. So I don't know, Lisa, we'd have to put a resolution together to. Yeah, so it'll take a little bit of work, but I really appreciate your coming forward on this because it's the old don't ask, you won't get it, so I think we have something that I want to work forward on, and I think the board probably will, when we see that what it takes to do it, we'll put it together. Yes, Ken.
Are you noticing are the students getting some peer-to-peer assistance between each other after they start getting the information from you?
Yes.
Are they starting to spread the fact, hey, don't do this anymore?
Yep. And that's why we really work to dispel myths and to really help them, because if they're going to, especially our young people, they share a lot of misinformation. They don't know how to properly look for sources or health effects and know what this stuff really does to their bodies. And so they can't make educated decisions and good actions if they don't have the correct information. And that's one thing the coalition is really good at providing. In your letter, I just wanted to mention in the packet, we've been able to see it since the coalition's been in existence. It's been around since the 90s. Some of you may have been familiar, but we really got a kind of rebirth in 2016 when we were able to get some federal grant funding. And since then, we've seen a reduction in our young people, our high school specifically, opioid use from 6% down to 2%. And we continue to want to decrease and maintain that so we don't go up in the future, as well as continue our numbers from older people. And by supporting the coalition in this effort, we have done extensive research with an evaluation team, and every dollar put into the coalition actually saves the community 15 and some change in public burden spending. So that's your fire, your EMS, through some of the Narcan trainings that we do and things like that as well. So we can actually help save Highland some money in the future.
Thank you very much, Jordan. I appreciate it. So we'll be in touch.
Do you know how much that money, how much of the settlement is geared towards Highland?
Yes, we've started receiving payments.
How much?
So the
Oh,
fund
we have it.
balance as of, because we had to start a new fund for this, fund balance as of May 31st is 10,164. There may be more coming. I don't know.
All right, so move on to the next item. 659 North Duck Lake Road or Duck Lake Park, Verizon Cell Tower Land Lease Amendment. So Jennifer's been our cell tower queen. She's got that all figured out, so I'll let you explain what's going on there.
Yep, so we just recently signed a contract with Verizon for the Duck Lake Park Tower. There was in the attached schedule, there was a calculation error. It was in our favor, it wasn't bad, but I mean, they fixed it. And they also clarified that if Verizon assigns the lease to a company to construct, own, manage the tower, which they most likely will do, that will not be considered a co-location. So at some point, they'll have a contract with a company that will build the tower and Verizon will be the first antenna on the tower.
And then any additional antennas would then be considered just antennas only, not the tower itself.
Correct. The other ones would be co-locations.
So I don't know how many of you drive down the dead zone from M59 to Cooley Lake Road at least. This was a perfect opportunity, you know, as much as you hate this put towers up in the middle of parks and stuff like that, this is a perfect opportunity to help kill that. So I've got AT&T and I don't know if it's going to do any good, but I think they probably is maybe able to bounce something off there. So hopefully it's a start and we'll be moving on from there. And one of the nice features of this is that the resources received from the rents on this cell tower have to be allocated to parks. So this is a way that we can fund the parks, which some of you may know we're doing some investment in the basketball court and pickleball courts now. So those are things that instead of, you know, trying to pass a millage to make the parks go, if we can get revenue streams to be able to fund those, and it reduces a tax burden on the people in the community. So I think it's a good thing. So somebody want to do the motion?
I move to approve Supervisor Hamel to sign the first with Verizon for cell tower at 659 North Duck Lake Road at Duck Lake Park.
Support. Well, I can't hear it in my right ear, but
Moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right, the next item is a request from the Heidi Bay, Director of Highland Activity Center. And she's requesting board approval to hire Ann Seabolt as building monitor / security for the activity center pending a background check. It's a seasonal position. Start date would be July 11th and the pay rate $12 per hour, not to exceed 29 hours per week. So
So moved.
motion.
That's right.
Cooper.
I'll make that a motion. We can just move on. So that's a motion.
Okay.
Okay, so you making a motion? Okay,
Cooper support.
okay, moved and supported. That was a change up.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How come it's only, I guess, I mean, $12 an hour doesn't seem like much. I don't know if that's just, I don't know. I mean, it just seems you read that, it's just, where did that number come from, I guess? It just seems like it's like crossing guard
So
pay, which is
current-
really sad.
Well, crossing guard pay is now $25 an hour. Yeah. Isn't it? Yeah. So so minimum wage was $10. And then it came up to almost $12. So we kept this position at a minimum wage, not understanding the position. us three are going to talk about salaries, and this is one that we were going to increase to more like a crossing guard, because they really only do weekends for security at the center.
Sure.
So like 8 hours.
You want to make it worth their while.
Correct.
And you want, the problem is, and also you want to have, and I know, Anna, you want to have good people, and it's hard when
Correct.
you're only, okay, that's good to hear. So, all right.
Okay. Oh, vote. You'll be vote. Vote, please.
All right, we're voting. Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, next item is award bid for demolition of 146 North John Street. That's the house over around the corner here. We put out requests for bids for demolition. We received 4 responses. Of those 4 responses, 1 did not meet the bid quote requirements, which was bond money and several other things. And so the next lowest bid was for $20,150, and it was for Hoffman. Do you have the legal name? Hoffman Management LLC. And one of the things we also asked for was an alternate to go along with that. In the original bid, there was a requirement to put an inch of gravel over the whole site after it had been tore up. So everybody kind of made the same comment. Well, why not just put more gravel on it? I said, we'll make it an alternate. And so the alternate on that was for Mr. Hoffman was $2,750. So that would bring his total bid up to $22,900, including the alternate. So I'll give you the numbers. Greystone was the highest bidder at $53,800. Blue Star was $32,700. Bizarca was $19,000. That's the one that kind of disqualified himself because he didn't follow the bid requirements. And then Hoffman. So somebody want to make a motion?
I
Make
would
a motion
move,
to approve the demolition of the building located at 146 North John Street as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Okay. Oh. And the amount would be for $22,900.
Yes.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any questions?
Question, is that the other Bob Hoffman? Is there 2 Bob Hoffmans in our
No,
life?
it's the Bob Hoffman.
It is him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
I'm guessing that that also includes all of the debris removal in that figure, correct?
Pardon me?
That includes all the removal of the debris in that amount. Okay.
That's, so in essence, what would happen, there'll be 4 inches of gravel or more, depending on anybody that's going to be able to just do exactly 4. It'll probably be more than that, but so what'll get left is there's currently a hedge along McPherson. That hedge will be left so that there's already some kind of screening from it. The fence and everything between the 2 buildings will be removed, and it'll essentially become immediately a parking lot. So, and the neighborhood has been informed of what's going on, and they're all, pleased with it. So, I mean, no opposition. Right, so moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is going to relate to that as well. And it's a budget amendment to cover the following items. Asbestos abatement, $5,000, asbestos survey, $1,800, the demolition, $20,150, crushed stone, $2,750, septic pump, $325, and a miscellaneous unforeseen contingencies of $3,000. So it's $33,025. So that's a motion to approve to make a budget amendment.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Hal votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item relates to the upgrades of the tennis courts and the basketball court. And so one of the things we had to do is we went through this last year to try and make this happen. And then when it was time to do the concrete work, there was no concrete available. So there was a lot of contractors that got burnt on that. So anyways, we're able to move it forward this year. So the cost of the concrete for the tennis and basketball courts will exceed the amount approved in October of 2022, which was $42,000. And so it's going to exceed it by approximately 4,000. So the estimated final cost will be 46,000. Now, the other thing that we were going to do is the township we bid this thing in a way where we asked the bidders to bid cost to install only, to try and make it just straight apples to apples. And all of the contractors came through with exactly the same price, $2 a square foot. So what made one stand out among the rest was, in order to do this tennis court, they were going to have to either pay to tear down all the fencing, which would be expensive, or bring in a pump truck to pump it in. Well, only one had a pump truck. So a pump truck would have been additional cost to the others. So it put the one KNR concrete one to bid on that. And so anyways, we were going to negotiate with the cement contractors. Well, the way cement is right now, there's no negotiation. And when it came down to getting the cement contractor or cement company that we were going to use, they wanted to put us through a whole bunch of hoops to open an account. And so what it turned out is we used the cement contractor to go ahead and use his account to buy the concrete, of which we will reimburse him for at the same rate that he would pay. So that's there's two elements to this that we need to do. So we need to approve increasing the concrete allocation by 4,000 and approve the purchase of the concrete through KNR Concrete Inc. I guess I can make that a motion as well. Huh? Both. We need to approve increasing the concrete allocation by 4,000 and to approve the purchase of concrete through KNR Concrete Incorporated.
Cooper,
Support.
support.
Or Judy can have it.
So you can have.
Okay. Who's taking that one? All right. Approved. Moved and supported. Any questions on that? All right, we'll move on with our vote,
I
please.
think that's a solid thing we're doing.
Poor joke.
Can we vote now?
Vote, please.
Okay. Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Hal votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carried.
That would be a concrete decision we made. So
Another poor joke. So. Yes, it's one motion. Yeah. Okay, so the next item, also related to these courts. Back when this whole court repair thing came up, the tennis people were on me like gum on a shoe to get these tennis courts repaired. So we went through the process. We hired somebody to an architect to come up and give us what the costs were going to be, and they were astronomical. And so I managed to figure out a creative way to reduce the cost significantly. So the initial cost for replacing the courts was tennis courts, basketball court, and a hockey rink was $675,000. So you just heard that we're looking at about $88,000 to replace the surfaces on the basketball and the tennis courts by pouring cement directly on the old asphalt, which is still solid. So you don't have to redo the base. I did do research to make sure I wasn't being stupid about it. And it appears it's one of the new ways that they're doing replacement for asphalt is they'll grind the surface of the asphalt down in parking lots for like malls and that type of thing. And then they'll pour cement over the top. And the net positive result is you get a white finish that reduces the heat generation by asphalt. And you didn't spend the money on replacing all of the base that you'd have to put in when you tear the asphalt out. So you've got a base that's been compacted for, 20 years in that park or so. It's pretty hard to get that compaction level with a roller in a day's time. So it's really proven out. I think that it'll be a good thing. But here's the side effect of that. The tennis players now are all pickleball nuts. No offense, but pickleball players, let's put it that way. They don't want tennis courts in there. Yet they're the tennis players. So pickleball, I don't know how many of you know, but it's like probably the hottest new.
I think we're in a pickle here.
Yeah, and I think most of it is I would say my generation, if you want to put it that way, that they go down to Florida and they all have this good time playing ping pong on a tennis court. And so their knees are shot and their hips are shot, but they can still play. So what ended up happening is we also have to paint the courts and put the striping on it. So when you hear this part, you'll probably do the same thing I did. The quote we got was for 2 tennis courts with 2 pickleball courts striped inside them because they're different sizes. They're smaller. So that quote was $29,700 to paint those courts and the basketball courts. So if you look at it, cost $46,000 to do the cement work, $46,000 for cement, and $29,700 for painting it. So I'm telling the cement contractor this, and he's like, I think I'm going to go into a different business. I mean, the amount of work and the cost and everything. So anyways, I was out there cleaning up some of the detritus from the cement process to try and keep the cost down. And the contractor for the painting crew, they came out and they're looking at it and they said, so you're putting tennis courts in? I said, no, there's a change. We're going to do 6 pickleball courts. So you can get 6 pickleball courts in the same space that you can do 2 tennis courts. So if you do the math on cost per use per person, it makes way more sense to allocate these funds to 6 courts with the potential for 24 people to play than 8. So it just makes sense. Do the pickleball courts. So I'm telling these guys that, and 45 minutes later, I get a phone call from the painting contractor. He goes, whoa. I did 2 tennis courts with pickleball stripes. Uh-oh. That means more money. Yep. So I had to get him to requote it. He's out in California or something right now, and he gave me a number over the phone, and that number is to increase it by $7,100. At first, he told me that pickleball courts are $5,000 a court. So that's 5 times 6, that's 30,000. So I think at 7,100 increase to go from 2 pickleball courts to 4 pickleball courts is much more realistic. And so what I'm asking for is the board I'm going to make a motion here for the board to approve an increase in the contract amount of laser striping company from $27,900 to $35,000. That's a motion.
I'll support. I just gotta,
Okay, do you have a question, Judy?
You're going from 2 to 6.
Right.
that's all. Yeah. Okay. You said 4. I would just, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
The way the tennis courts lay out, you can't fit 4 pickleball courts.
No,
But because of the size of that space, it's absolutely perfect for 6 pickleball courts, but no tennis courts.
Okay.
Because the posts get in the way and, so there's a lot of issues with it. So,
thank you for the clarification.
anyways, that's where we're at. And I have to tell you that since the word's gotten out that there's going to be pickleball courts, it's like out of control. When they're going to be done? We need to have special rules for that. And there's apps for, scheduling. And all I care about is you get your pickleball courts and you guys can go fight it out on the corner. But so anyways, I think this is an opportunity where we may in the future be able to look at that hockey rink and dual purpose that, because you can also do temporary net setups for pickleball courts. And there's room in that hockey ring to split it in half and you play half court hockey. Somebody will get killed with a hockey puck, but you might get killed with a pickleball racket too. So there's opportunities for doing that where you could open up tournaments where you could paint the things in there you need and not have to build a whole new court setup. So
That's a nice thing too. Milford High School has, and so does Lakeland. Both schools have great tennis courts. So for
Brand new,
tennis
yeah.
players, and there's 8 courts there at each school. So that's nice too. So then it's not that far away to go play tennis.
well, that's actually what the tennis players that demanded the tennis courts in the first place said when they said do away with the tennis because you can go play at the high schools. So we're trying to do the best we can for everybody. And I think this is a good application for it. Tremendously expensive stuff, but I'm hoping these will last for more than 20 years.
I didn't know pickles were round.
Ooh, we need to vote, don't we? Okay, I'll vote on that, please.
Okay, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the next item is the one we added. The fire chief is requesting to move some software to, right now he's working with multiple different software and systems to try and keep all of his documentation in order, his billings in order. So he's come across a piece of software that can do it all, I think is what you're really looking for. It's a single package that covers, and his example is this particular system is EPR Systems, gives an all-in-one program for $12,491 a year. It does the fire reporting with inspections, investigations, EMS reporting, scheduling with tracking, inventory and maintenance, training, tracking, and a dashboard. So in your package, there's 2 quotes that were written and one was received that was verbal. And the chief's preference is the EPR system. So Chief, would you like to expound on that, or is that enough?
No, that's pretty good. Basically, depending on what you go with, I mean, it's the sky's the limit with these companies. Is the more you want, the more you pay for it. The more systems, the more availability it is. The system fits our needs for what we're trying to do the best. For the system the way it is, we'll be paying a little more money than what we're paying now, but we're getting more services than what we're currently getting. The company we are going with now has all the options that we're going with, but they're actually would be more expensive if we went with that, stayed with the same company. And this company actually seems to be a little more cleaner, a little crisper, little easier for our employees to work with and for them to use. But like Supervisor said, there's two quotes on there. One's for this year's quote, which they gave us a deal on the fire and EMS reporting, so that way it'll offset the cost for training this year to train all of our individuals. Because this year's quote will have a 1 year or a one-time fee for one-time training. And then next year's cost is actually is a different. There's two quotes. There's one for this year, one for next year. Next year's cost is a different because it won't have the training cost on there. And then the third company that went out and got bid was way over even both of these two, and they just gave me a quote over the phone. I didn't even bother. It was double the price of this one, but I didn't bother having them email it to me. Any questions on any of the system for it?
Yes, so the quote is 11,547 in the packet. Did you add a module or is there a difference between? Is it first year versus following years?
They must have only put one in there. There should have been two quotes I emailed.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
It's just,
One's for $12,491.
that's the first,
That's for this year.
okay,
That'll include everything for this year and training for all the employees. Next year's cost would be $11,547. That'll be the normal yearly cost. The year after that will be based off that 11,547 plus probably whatever their yearly increase. Everybody has an increase for services every year after that.
Beth, go ahead.
Just curious as to what other fire departments use and what the success ratio is or what they prefer. And also does this system have any reporting functionality where you can run reports of,
Yep, that's one nice thing with this, just like the system we're using now does reporting. The funny thing I found out, the system we're using now actually has even better reporting systems if we paid for it. Even more. But we report every year. All of our EMS runs go to the state. All of our fire runs go federally. This system does the same thing. It can also run averages of where our run volume is, where in the township we go most of the time, what time of day the calls go on, what type of calls we go on, how many employees we respond to, majority of calls. We can run inquiries on whatever we want. And if there's a type of question we have that we want to know, they'll actually write it for us. So that way we can do that type of search for it. All three of these, there's three main companies, which are the three I got the quote for. They're ESO, the EPR, and then Image Trend. Image Trend is the one we're currently using now. That's what the three fire departments are using, or those three companies are the three predominant ones that are out there. There are a couple of other ones that are out there right now, but they're hit or miss of different departments that are using them. But these are the three main ones that are used throughout Michigan and most of the country right now.
Okay. We want to make a motion?
I would move to approve the change in software for the fire department from Image Trend to EPR systems for a total of $12,499 this year. And we'd authorize the supervisor to sign for that.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any other questions? All right, we'll vote, please.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Hal votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
All right. On that note, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.